Have you ever wondered what happens to the people who were once by your side in the most important moments of your life? The ones who helped you, protected you, accompanied you when no one else was there. What if years later you discovered that one of these people who once walked alongside you is now facing difficulties and desperately needs help? That's exactly what happened to Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player of all time. Everyone knows Jordan for his legendary career on the court, for his titles, for his unforgettable moments that marked generations. But what many people don't know is that away from the spotlight, he was placed in a situation that would change not only the life of an old friend, but also the way the world viewed his true character. Years after his retirement, already established as one of the richest athletes in history, Jordan received news that left him completely shocked. One of his former bodyguards, a man who was by his side in the golden times, living closely every victory and every battle, was now going through unimaginable difficulties. What happened to this man? How did he, who was once so close to basketball's greatest legend, end up in this situation? And more than that, what did Jordan do next? Did he ignore it as so many would do? Or did he take an action that would change everything forever? This story is about gratitude, loyalty, and about never forgetting those who were with you when everything seemed perfect. And if you've ever gotten emotional just imagining what could have happened, then leave your like, because this video promises to be one of the most impactful you will watch today. And I want to hear from you. Do you believe that everyone deserves a second chance? Do you think we should return the good we received in the past? Comment, "Gratitude always," if you agree. Now get ready, because what you will see next will surprise you. Have you ever helped someone in the past and years later, they changed your life in an unexpected way? Often we move forward without looking back, without thinking about the impact that certain people have had on our journey. But what if suddenly destiny put that person back in your path, needing help? That's exactly what happened to Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player of all time. Everyone knows the legend, the star who enchanted the world with his supernatural ability, who won 6 NBA titles, who humiliated opponents and became an immortal sports icon. But what few people know is that off the court, Jordan experienced a moment that would change not only the life of an old friend, but also the way the world viewed his true character. It all started unexpectedly. Jordan, already retired and a billionaire, continued his routine as a successful businessman. Business, investments, events, million-dollar campaigns. But in the midst of this world of luxury and power, he received news that left him completely shaken. One of his former bodyguards, a man who was by his side in his glory days, living every moment of his peak. Now I was in a desperate situation. That man, who for years walked alongside Jordan, who ensured his safety as he became a legend, now he fought to survive. What happened? How did someone who was once so close to one of the greatest fortunes in the world end up in this situation? And more than that, what would Jordan do now? He could just ignore it, go on with his life as if nothing had happened, like so many people do. But Michael Jordan was never like the others. This is not just a story about money, fame, or success. This is a story about gratitude, loyalty, and about never forgetting those who were with you when everything seemed perfect. Jordan was faced with a choice: turn your back or do something that would change everything forever. In the glory days of Michael Jordan, when he dominated the courts and became a living basketball legend, there was a small group of people who were part of his daily life behind the scenes. People who weren't in the spotlight, who didn't appear on magazine covers, but who played a crucial role in your life. Among them, one security guard in particular stood out, becoming much more than just a professional responsible for your protection. He was a friend, a confidant, a true shield against the chaos of the outside world. This man was by Jordan's side during the most intense moments of his career, on the days of decisive games, in moments of extreme pressure. While thousands of people shouted the star's name and cameras recorded each of his movements, this security guard was always nearby, ensuring that nothing distracted him from his sole objective: win. But his role went far beyond that. He wasn't just a professional paid to protect him. He was part of Jordan's routine, sharing conversations, jokes, and most importantly, loyalty. There was a relationship of respect and trust between the two. On training days, when Jordan arrived before everyone else to perfect each move, this security guard was there. Sometimes the two exchanged a few quick words, sometimes he just watched, admiring the tireless dedication of the greatest player of all time. But there was something special there. While many saw Jordan as an untouchable icon, he saw a human being, a man who also needed moments of respite, someone he could talk to without the weight of fame. Behind the scenes, the two even had internal jokes. In several interviews, Jordan has talked about how he always liked to challenge the people around him, even those who didn't play basketball. And this security guard, oddly enough, became one of the few to challenge Jordan in some casual matches. Yes, that happened. It was a way to break the seriousness of the work, to create a connection that went beyond the professional. This man was not just someone who stood in the background of iconic photos, but someone who shared real and genuine moments alongside the greatest legend in sports. Over time, he became a fundamental part of Jordan's routine, one of those people who was there not just because they were paid to be there, but because they actually cared. But time passes, and what was once part of everyday life can suddenly turn into just a distant memory. Time has a subtle and relentless way of transforming relationships that seemed eternal into mere memories. What was once a shared routine, made up of daily conversations, laughter, and moments of complicity, slowly dissolved, as happens with so many people throughout their lives. Michael Jordan followed his path, and that security guard, who was once by his side at all times, ended up being left behind. There were no fights, no dramatic goodbyes, just the inevitable silence that comes when everyone takes a different path. For Jordan, retirement from the court was just the beginning of a new phase. If before he dominated the NBA, now he was focused on building a legacy outside of basketball. Businessman, owner of a league franchise, billionaire investor, his time began to be filled with meetings, million-dollar deals, advertising campaigns. The man once defined by basketball was now seen as a business icon, amassing a fortune that only grew. Meanwhile, his former security guard lived a completely different reality. Without the stability that came with working alongside Jordan, he had to look for new paths. But the real world is cruel, and success comes with no guarantees. The shine of the glory days quickly faded, and the opportunities that seemed right were disappearing. He who had once walked alongside basketball's greatest legend now faced difficulties simply surviving. The difference between the two now was gigantic. On one side, a man who became a billionaire with his name printed on products sold all over the world. On the other, a man who once had a privileged place behind the scenes of greatness, but who now found himself forgotten, trying to find a new purpose. And that is the harsh reality of life. While some continue to rise, others struggle not to fall. Jordan, surrounded by commitments, had no idea what was happening to his old friend. But destiny has curious ways of acting, and when the truth finally reached him, everything changed. Michael Jordan was used to dealing with surprises on the court. He knew how to turn an impossible game around, how to defeat the opponent when everything seemed lost, but nothing could prepare him for the shocking discovery that awaited him off the court. The news reached him unexpectedly. During a casual conversation, someone mentioned that one of his former security guards, a man who was by his side during the golden years of the Chicago Bulls, now lived in a completely different reality. At first, Jordan didn't understand the gravity of the situation. After all, many people who worked with him went on with their lives. Some prospered, others changed direction. But as he heard more details, his face began to change. The man who once ensured his safety on the sidelines of big games, who shared moments of friendship and loyalty, now faced extreme financial difficulties. He had lost the stability he had in Jordan's day and was now struggling to stand. No steady job, no support, no prospects. For many, he was just another name forgotten in time, but for Jordan, that it was unacceptable. Witnesses say that Jordan was silent for a few moments, processing the information. He wasn't the type to show emotions easily, but everyone around him noticed that it hit him hard. A close friend revealed that he simply lowered his head and took a deep breath, as if absorbing an unexpected blow. For a man who always valued loyalty and hard work, knowing that someone so close to him was in a difficult situation, it was something he couldn't ignore. He asked for more information. He wanted to know how had that happened. I wanted details. Where was that security guard now? How was he living? What could be done to help you? Jordan knew that time had separated them, that life had moved on for both of them in different ways, but he also knew that had the power to change this situation. It was at that moment that he made a decision. He wouldn't stand still. He wouldn't leave that man behind. Michael Jordan has always been a man of action. Since his playing days, he was never the type to just react to situations. He made things happen. So when he discovered his former security guard was struggling, he didn't hesitate. He needed to meet him in person. It was through old contacts that Jordan managed to locate the security guard. The man, who was once present behind the scenes at the NBA's biggest moments, now led a completely different life. Without the structure that once surrounded him, he had been forgotten by time and industry. The meeting was scheduled away from the spotlight, without press, without cameras. Jordan wanted that moment to be true, without outside interference. When he finally arrived at the agreed location, the former security guard had no idea what was about to happen. He knew he would meet someone, but he never imagined that, when he looked up, he would see there, standing in front of him, Michael Jordan himself. There was a moment of silence, one of those seconds that seemed to last an eternity. Shock was written all over the former security guard's face. Years had passed, life had separated them, but now, face to face, everything seemed to come back. As if it were yesterday, the man he had protected for so long was now there before him, but not as a basketball legend, but as an old friend. The eyes watered, the voice broke. It was impossible to contain the emotion. How could someone who was once so close to a global legend imagine that after so long, this same man would come to him, not as a boss, but as a friend who cared? Jordan was no longer just the unreachable star, but someone who recognized the importance of the one who had been by his side in the past. The two greeted each other, exchanged a few words, but there was something in the air that neither of them could ignore. This was not a simple visit. Jordan wasn't just there to remember old times. He knew he had something to do, that he couldn't leave without changing the situation. And now I ask you, do you believe that true friendships stand the test of time? Comment: true friendships never die. If you also believe that bonds built with respect and loyalty are never broken. Because what Jordan did next, no one could imagine. Michael Jordan wasn't the type to make empty speeches or promises he couldn't keep. If there was one thing that always defined his career, besides supernatural talent, it was his winning mentality and your loyalty to the people who have been part of your journey. And at that moment, as he looked into his former bodyguard's eyes, he knew he couldn't just walk away and move on with his life as if nothing had happened. He needed to act. The former security guard, visibly emotional, was still trying to process the reunion when Jordan did something no one expected. Without hesitation, he asked directly, "What happened to you?" He wanted to understand everything. How had that man, who had been by his side for so long, gotten into that situation? How could someone who was once a behind-the-scenes part of one of the NBA's greatest eras now struggle to survive? Hearing the story, Jordan felt a weight he couldn't ignore. It wasn't just a financial problem, it wasn't just a bad phase, it was a cry for help. The former security guard had faced unexpected twists and turns, difficulties that accumulated over time, until he simply could no longer stand up on his own. And it was at that moment that Jordan made a decision that would change everything. No hesitation, Jordan offered him immediate financial support, ensuring he could rebuild his life without worrying about where his next meal would come from or how he would pay his bills. But he did even more. He offered a new opportunity, a way for his former security guard to regain not only his stability, but also his dignity. The exact details of this gesture have been kept out of the spotlight because Jordan never needed applause to do good. But the impact of this attitude quickly spread, and the story gained traction among those with knowledge behind the scenes. The audience was impressed. What Jordan did wasn't just an act of charity, it was an example of gratitude, of recognition for those who were by your side when everything was different. The story of Michael Jordan and his former security guard goes far beyond basketball. This isn't just about a legendary player helping someone who was part of his past. This is a story about loyalty, about never forgetting those who were by your side when everything seemed perfect. Throughout life, it is easy to appreciate people in their moments of glory. When we are at the top, surrounded by applause and recognition, many come closer. Many want to be close by. But when the spotlight goes out, when time passes and paths part, how many actually remain? How many still remember those who contributed to their journey? Jordan showed that true greatness is not just in the talent or fortune he has accumulated, but in the way he recognizes the value of those who were part of his journey. This attitude revealed a lot about who he is off the court. The image that many know of Jordan is that of the relentless competitor, the man who never accepted defeat, the athlete who demanded the maximum from himself and others. But this story shows another side. It shows a man who understands that his path was not built alone, who knows that, behind each achievement, there were people who supported him, who helped him, who were part of his growth. And this is a lesson that we can all take with us for life. How many people have been by our side in the most important moments? How many helped us, supported us, believed in us, and who today might need a gesture from us? Time can separate paths, but it cannot erase the importance of those who were part of our history. Jordan's attitude makes us reflect on the true meaning of success, because success is not just what you achieve for yourself, but the impact you have on the lives of those around you. And now I ask you, have you ever met someone from the past who changed your life in some way? Maybe a childhood friend, a teacher, a co-worker, someone who made a difference back then, and who today you realize the impact they had on your journey? Comment below. Your story can inspire others to reflect on who really matters in their lives. This attitude of Michael Jordan not only transformed the life of an old friend, but also teaches us that gratitude is proven with actions. Small gestures can change everything, and often those who need help most are those who have already been by our side in the most important moments. So why not do the same? And if this story moved you, don't let her just be with you. Share with someone who needs to hear this message today. Maybe a friend, a relative, someone who needs this reminder about friendship, loyalty, and gratitude, because stories like this deserve to be spread. And if you like this type of content and want to know another inspiring Michael Jordan story, I invite you to watch the video now about the day Jordan found a boy with a holy sneaker and did something unbelievable. Click here and come discover this exciting story. Michael Jordan proved that greatness is not just in basketball, but also in attitudes. And now I ask you, who was the person who was by your side when you needed it most? Comment here and continue this conversation.